Hey everybody, welcome back. Brand new Take Aim. Hopefully everyone had a great Labor Day weekend and excited to get another episode out. This week I have Chris Derrick back on the show. Chris is the Whitetail brand manager for Sitka Gear. And in this episode we kind of hone in on the Fanatic line and some of the new and improved features in that line and some other gear as well. But Chris really knows his gear. He's a wealth of knowledge, so as always it's a pleasure to talk to him. And man, we're almost there, guys. We're in the home stretch. Some of you guys from the Midwest are probably heading west and chasing some animals somewhere, but for a lot of us, it's September 15th or October 1st. But man, we're in the home stretch, and as always, I hope everybody has a safe and successful season. Look for some more in-season reports. Hopefully, we'll be doing a lot of semi-live updates from guys that are just being successful and having good luck out in the field. But as always, stay safe and enjoy this episode. All right, everybody, we're back. Brand new Take Aim Outdoor podcast. And once again, very excited to talk to Chris Derrick, the Whitetail brand manager for Sitka Gear. What's happening, Chris?
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Not a problem, man. Excited to have you on the show again. It's been a minute since you've been on, but excited to have you back. And I basically we're at that time of year where guys are really gearing up for whitetail hunting, as you know, Chris, bow hunting. And I just wanted to kind of go over, since you're the whitetail guru on the Sitka side, go over some of the gear that we're going to probably use this fall and how to use it properly, and just kind of maybe build a system from the base layers to like the stuff we're going to be in maybe majority of the year, which I would think would be like the Fanatic line, like a jacket and bibs or maybe the vest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody's starting to pull their stuff out of their totes, maybe wash it or put it in the ozone bag and start getting everything put together and get organized. So I think everybody's headspace is in the same area right now. So
yeah, for sure, it's definitely getting close. But one thing which I'm really excited about this year, because I'm gonna kind of upgrade my base layer system. It's old, it's past due, and it's time to do it. So I kind of would like to start there, Chris, if you don't mind. Let's talk about maybe we'll start with the lightweight stuff or the midweight. I would assume one of those two would probably be in majority of the year through October and early November in the Midwest. But just kind of some of the ins and outs of what goes into the core lightweight, crew stuff, and bottoms and those items.
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the best places to start, because we always teach people, setting your foundation is critical to having comfort. So if you put on, the best outerwear piece, but then you're putting cotton against your body, you're never going to be comfortable, because you're going to sweat in that, and it's just going to never put any of that moisture through the system. You're going to be really uncomfortable. So we always say, don't run out there and put on a pair of blue jeans and a cotton T-shirt and then add your outerwear on the outside of that. You'll have a pretty bad day. So a lot of people will run into maybe haven't really thought about that being the most important part of your system. If you've already got something in your closet that fits the bill of a good synthetic or a merino base layer, then maybe you can start building from your mid layer on. But you really need to put that into your kit before you get started. And I like to either focus on if you're synthetic or merino. So what do you typically run? Are you running synthetics or do you prefer merino?
Mostly all synthetics. I don't think which is unfortunate, but I don't think I have a bit of merino yet, to be honest.
Yeah, and they're really, I typically, especially for the earlier part of the season, I like to focus on using synthetics. But, the whole point of that, and you wouldn't think, like, even in the late season, why would I have a lightweight base layer on? And that's really all about moving moisture away from your skin. And so inside of the Sitka line, on the synthetic side, we have the core lightweight, or we have the midweight. And really, I'll always set one of those two against my skin before I even start putting on any insulation layers or any protective windstopper. And so there's the crew, there's a long sleeve, there's a short sleeve for your tops, and then you can go with the bottom. And again, the whole reason you're doing that is really just to kind of get a little movement of moisture. They're really fast-drying properties that we choose with the textiles, and they just got relaunched this year, and we found some newer textiles that actually dry way, way faster than our original ones. So they're roughly running about 25% faster on a dry time. And then the other route you can go is merino. And we offer two types of merino in the Sitka line. One's the core lightweight, and that's about 120 gram merino. It's a nylon core spun merino, and the great thing about that is a lot of times when you wear merino, what happens if it's just pure merino, especially in a lightweight format, it'll start to stretch out, and it doesn't really fully recover. And so when you put that nylon core inside of that, what it does is the merino shirt won't keep stretching out and won't keep going and get all baggy on you. And you can wash it just like you do your normal gear. And so it's not something like you're going to wash it and run it through your typical dryer, and then you're going to come out with something you could put on your toddler. Everything that we've set up is where you can use it in your standard wash cycle. And then the other option that we have for wearing next to skin is the heavyweight merino, and that's a 290 gram. And what's really neat about that is it's like a polysynthetic against your skin. So the way that it's knitted, the poly winds up against the skin side, and then the 290 gram merino winds up on the outside. And the poly hates moisture, but the merino loves it. So it's actually going to move moisture off of your body, and you won't get that clammy feeling sometimes that you get when you wear just a typical heavyweight merino directly against your skin. So those are really your options. You just have to figure out what works best for you. Some of the properties of synthetic, it's really fast dry, great at moving moisture. Merino doesn't have any smell. It's actually pretty set up to be naturally antimicrobial. So, if you're wearing it for multiple days in a row, it's not going to smell like an old shoe, which sometimes synthetics can do, even when you do treat them with an antimicrobial treatment.
Now, Chris, as far as wash, because what you just said is so true, at least on the synthetic side, and I've heard that about the merino, about just it holds a little more scent than the merino does. But durability-wise or caring for those garments, is there a difference between the two as far as, for me, let's start with the synthetic, but just curious, is there a certain way to do it, or is it just let's throw it in the wash with some no-scent laundry soap?
Yeah, so you can just wash and dry them like you normally would, or run them in an ozone bag. Everything that we do runs through an ozone generator for people that are doing that to make sure that it stands up to ozone. And I'll wash them always with a performance wash, no scent, something like BioStrike or a Limishield or one of those other products that are out on the market that are good and don't add. You don't want to put anything in, especially with high-end apparel and gear. You don't want to run it through a wash. That'll be like a Tide where it's going to strip the DWR. So you want to make sure that you're using a no-scent performance wash. And then, just read the care labels always before you start washing your high-end gear. But most of our gear, you can run it through your wash and then dry it as well. And a lot of people don't know this, but Gore-Tex, for example, and Windstopper, it's actually good to wash and dry it. We encourage people to wash and dry often, and that actually helps your garment perform better. It recharges the DWR. It cleans all the oils off of the garment and actually keeps the breathability and the waterproofness in top shape. So you wouldn't think, I've got this, $300-400 jacket. I shouldn't put it in the wash, but but that's actually the right thing to do, is to wash and dry it.
Yeah, that's really cool info. And that is something I did not know myself either, so that's really good to know. Chris, I just want to touch back on, you mentioned the ozone stuff. Obviously, you guys, it's your business. That's what you guys do for a living every day. Ozone has blown up. So as far as usage-wise through the hunting community, have you guys, I'm sure, gone above and beyond testing some of those with the new fabrics? I know that right away, which we can talk about the effect of ozone on something that's like elastic, which we know have some sort of issues with the electricity, but like a suspenders or something I'll mention. But anything else have you guys noticed, or have you guys had to actually change any products due to that?
Yeah, actually, about I guess it was a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, we started looking at suspenders. So our original suspender design had natural rubber inside of the strap that would go over your shoulder, and we started getting some returns of people that had run them through, an ozonics or a scent pressure bag, and what had happened is essentially it just turned the natural rubber to nothing. And so we've moved all of our elastic over to materials that will perform inside one of those bags. And if you've got, like, anyone listening that has one that maybe has had an issue with that, you can call our customer service team and have your garment sent in and have the straps replaced. So don't go throwing away perfectly good Stratus bib or maybe an incinerator bib, because the Stratus had the new one on it. But don't go worrying too much about if you did something to an older pair of incinerator bibs that you had. You can actually send those in for repair and swap those out. So that's something that we've moved to.
Wow, that's really awesome. That's really good to know for sure. Like I said, I'm assuming you guys had to face a whole new world of challenges with that, just with obviously, for one, it's so convenient for us, being as hunters and being on the road, and you can just flip on the ozone and off you go. But I'm sure you guys had some challenges at some point, at least just trying to figure out the technology. But that's really good to hear that you guys have managed to get that fixed, and like always, you guys have some of the best customer service around. So nice to hear you guys are living up to that end as well.
Yeah, I mean, repairability is a really important thing. We want the stuff that we make to last you a long time, and so part of that is just like in a car or anything that you're if you're buying a pair of Sitka waders, for example, and you're a waterfowl hunter, the whole idea around that is having serviceability, and being able to send it in and have it worked on just like you would your car. That way you're just not buying a pair and having, like, for example, waders is one of the best examples, having it leak and then not being able to do anything about it. One thing that we can do is have it come in, have the boots replaced, have everything changed. So that's one of the things that reach out and start looking at ways from a repairability standpoint is pretty important to us.
Yeah, that's really, really important, and I think that's such a different trend with clothing, or even just a company in the outdoor genre in general, that you guys are doing that. I don't believe anybody else really is. So kudos to you guys at Sitka for doing that and giving guys options to just send something in and get it repaired and get it right back to you, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So moving on, Chris, do you have a preference yourself as far as the merino or the synthetic, or do you kind of run a mixture of both?
I'll typically, when I'm whitetail hunting, I run a mixture of both, but really what I tend to do is when it gets into the later season, I'll switch to that heavyweight merino. That's actually one of my favorite pieces to wear. So, a lot of time in the late season, I'll be running the merino heavyweight, depending on how cold it is, like a Fanatic hoodie on top of that, and then setting up an outerwear piece, like a Stratus or a Fanatic on top of that, depending on what the temperature range too. Maybe having a Celsius midi, but I'm not having to stack too many layers on when I'm doing that. And I'll stay, I can go well down into the teens before I even have to even try and think about pulling out my Fanatic suit. And so that's one of my favorite setups. But then towards the beginning of the season, I'll tend to focus on synthetics just when, I know I'm going to be sweating more. That's just one of the things I like to do. But there's several of the people on our ambassador team that I know that run like the lightweight merino. You wouldn't think about wearing wool in early season, but it's actually a really good product for that because just because of the no scent capabilities of that lightweight merino.
Yeah, absolutely. I would assume you guys face a lot of challenges with that, just with any base layers, and especially on the whitetail side, because it's such a unique thing where it's super highly active for a stretch of 5 to, let's say, 20 minutes, and then it's nothing. And maybe that's one of the reasons I've always done the synthetic, is just because it's next to skin. I can rip off my coat or vest and stay cool as I'm packing stuff in and walking, climbing a tree, and then kind of get redressed again. But I never thought of using a lightweight merino in the early season like that. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of people I know really like that. I always just find your preference and then go down that route. Your body chemistry can come into play too. So that's one of the things. There's not a one size fits all setup for everyone. It helps to be able to try out a few different things, but I think it's really good the way that you're recommending those, starting out with your base layer and setting it with either that synthetic or that merino foundation. You're going to have a lot better time in the woods if you're doing that.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I definitely want to switch gears to, Chris, is I am a fanatic myself about wearing vests. I probably wear more vest hunting than any guy you probably or anybody knows. So I would love to talk about the Fanatic vest and just some of its capabilities and all the thought and stuff that has gone into that vest, because it is single-handedly just something I'm obsessed with, and the way that vest is built, and I'll let you talk about it. But there's a bunch of unique features to it that are just outstanding if you're a bow hunter, and it's one of those things, probably one of the reasons I like stuff like that so much, is you kind of base layer up the right way, and maybe something like the Equinox hoodie and the vest, you can get by with that, till mid-November, I bet you, almost, if you wanted to. And I just like maybe the freedom and having my arms a little less tied up with a big bulky jacket. But let's start with that Fanatic vest, because it's just a killer item.
Yeah, it's a lot of. I know a lot of people that feel the same way. And the Fanatic series is something that we just redesigned for 2019. We got a really good product that was out there that allowed you to stay warm. But we wanted to take some approaches to figure out how could we keep the same level of warmth, but then make the overall garment way more quiet, and then maybe improve some of the features with what we had learned over the years. And so we had set out with a whole new philosophy on where it started with textile design and development. So we partnered with Gore-Tex and the Comfort Room to be able to go in and analyze a bunch of different textiles, types of insulations, and face fabrics, backers, different laminates, and put those through an instrument that's called the Gore Noise Analyzer. And essentially just imagine like you're pumping your fist on your arm. It's moving the jackets around in a motion that would be very similar to that, and it measures the noise that comes from the different textiles. And you're able to basically pinpoint two types of noise. One is called rustle, which happens about 3,100 hertz. That's the sound if you take your hand and brush it on your shirt, you'll hear that rustling noise. And then the other noise is called buckle, and that's the crinkling noise. If you've got like a rain jacket, maybe if you're turning the sleeve on that, or even a plastic bag, you'll hear a popping noise. That happens at about 125 hertz. And the reason that's important is we know from some studies that are out there where their hearing frequency is their sweet spot, and it shifts about 2 octaves higher than ours does. And so that buckle may be a little bit less important because it has to be louder for a deer to hear it, whereas the rustle is right inside of their sweet spot. And so before we even went into the stage of building garments for testing, we were able to pinpoint what was going to make the overall garment quieter. And then we were able to go in to start building jackets, vests, bibs, to be able to work on those types of features after we had already cued in on what's actually going to make this quieter for the hunter. And so with the vest, one of the key things I really like, and it's also on the jacket, is the Constant Connect safety harness for it. So whenever you add or remove a jacket layer, a lot of times most people are hunting with a shoulder-mounted safety harness tether. It connects from the right below the base of your neck, runs up to a strap that goes around the tree, and in order to stay disconnected or stay connected to the tree, you technically need to throw another lineman's rope around the tree and disconnect. I think a lot of people are probably cutting corners when doing that. And so they'll just pull it through like a harness port in the jacket and hook it back to the tree, and you're disconnected for a few minutes while you're moving around. And what we were able to do is work on a new patented design that essentially splits at the back of the collar, so you can take on or put on or take off your jacket or your vest without ever disconnecting the tether from the tree stand.
So basically the back of the neck on the collar of the vest or the jacket, one side of that collar actually flips up and removes it and then reconnects, right? Is that okay? And what is
there's like a sliding snap that just moves to the side and you open it up, and then the jacket just take it off like you normally take off a jacket.
Okay. Wow, that's unique. Yeah, that's really cool. And that would be very true, Chris, about what you said about cutting corners, because I'm pretty sure everybody I know is cutting that corner when they're doing those type of things in the tree. So that's a good way to get around it and stay safe and secure the whole time you're in the tree. And honestly, that's the only way I know about it is the system you guys now have on that vest and that jacket. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's that was something that was pretty important, and it took a while to get right, but I've really enjoyed using it. Now, whenever I have one that doesn't have it, I really miss it. So I think it's a pretty neat feature, and it's something that will start to move into the line as into other garments as they get updated.
Yeah, for sure. One thing maybe you've noticed it too, Chris, offhand, is I would assume that alleviates, which I've always noticed, some of the pressure you get from like the harness itself and where that strap comes out from the top of your neck on the clothing. It kind of weighs it down and pushes it down, and I notice lots of times in the tree stand I'm always like fidgeting or moving it to kind of alleviate some of that pressure. Have you noticed that wearing the Fanatic vest or the jacket, that it's kind of just not so heavy right on the base of your neck and shoulders?
Well, I don't even feel them when they're back there. So, the best thing I can think is whenever you have something and you don't notice it's there is kind of what you're speaking to, and that's
exactly right.
What's
yeah.
important. Yeah. If you've got a harness that's too tight and it's pulling down on the top of your shoulders too, I always get a headache if it's set up that way. For some reason, all those muscles are disconnected in some way, and so having your gear fit right is really important because it constantly, it's almost like you're wearing a backpack all day long. Yeah,
for sure. And part of it is I know everybody has their own system and how they like to wear that stuff. I wear that safety harness kind of on the inside, close to my body, not on the outside of a garment. So that's probably one of the reasons I feel that pressure maybe a little bit more than everybody else, because like I said, it literally is now running up on top of the collar of a jacket or on top of my hoods, if you understand what I'm saying. But I just prefer to keep it inside, and I don't get tangled up with anything. But that system that you guys have now would alleviate that totally, which I really like. And that was a good answer. If you said you don't even notice it, that's the right answer then.
Yeah, that definitely gets your mind off hunting. So when you're not feeling good, and all of our jackets too have a port in the back, so none of them should be having anything that's running up against the base of your neck. So that you should never really run into that situation where it's sitting up against the back or pulling down the back of your jacket.
That's super nice feature.
All of our Whitetail gear is designed with that feature. So.
Now, another thing I'll let you mention, Chris, is the way it zips, and then you guys also have the shoot-through like kangaroo pouch, so both your hands can be connected inside the vest, which we both know if you can touch your hands together, it increases your body heat and it keeps those hands warm, which is really awesome. A great feature.
Yeah, a lot of people wonder why on earth the Fanatic has this. It's a strange cross zip that when you see it, you'll see it starts on your left hip and runs up across your chest and finishes up on the right side. And the whole reason of that zip design is so that you can actually have a muff built into the jacket where your hands touch. So if you think about like a regular standard jacket that zips right up the middle, what you have a right hand and you have a left hand pocket. This has the muff built right into the garment, so you don't have to wear like a separate hand muff on top of your gear. So that's really nice. Keeps you way more low profile in the stand. And then also when you reach your hand in the new Fanatic 2, it's got a mesh inside of there, and that's really just for holding like a chemical hand warmer. So you can throw those in. I'm sure with you, just from the archery standpoint, I'm either running, just the Fanatic glove with its fingerless design. Doesn't matter if it's, well below freezing. I'm still going to have as little on my hand as possible. And if it's super, super cold, then maybe on my left hand I'll have something that's warmer, like an incinerator flip knit or something for gripping. But on my trigger or my release hand, there's almost nothing on it. I just don't like to have anything on my fingers, and I know a lot of other people feel the same way. So. Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of that for sure. I'm usually in the lightest pair of gloves on earth, that I can find. I'm trying to get the name of the gloves you guys have that I use all the time, but it's the one that it's basically it ends right at your wrist. So it's not very long, doesn't go reach into your length of your sleeve at all, but basically right at the palm of the hand. It was, I believe, made back in the day for that reason. But that's probably one of my favorite gloves just because it's so close to the neck to the skin. It's almost like a batter's glove or athletic glove for, catching a football or baseball bat. But that's probably one of my favorite things. I have never, to be honest, Chris, never used one of the fingerless gloves, but I might have to try one this year. With that new system being able to keep or a muff, I would be open to it.
Yeah, if it gets extra cold, I do like to stick a merino liner under the Fanatic glove, but that's a really minimalistic glove made out of a lightweight material.
Hanger glove, that's what I was thinking of.
Oh, the hanger glove, yeah,
yep.
It's kind of a work style glove.
Yeah, there we go. I really like that glove, but do you use the early season glove? Is that the fingerless one you use?
There is an ESW glove it's ultra lightweight. It's also fingerless, kind of a snug fit design, and so that's also a fingerless one. Especially for that one, it's super important because we're all pretty much starting with an early archery opener, archers are. Especially don't like to have stuff on their fingers. So I know a lot of people that find even other gloves and they'll cut them off. They'll just go and just snip off the fingers. So on the thumb and the trigger finger.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I would assume a lot of archery stuff in the Fanatic jacket as the vest, Chris. Do you want to just talk about the differences? Because obviously it is a jacket, it's not a vest, but I assume they're built on the same platform, so to speak.
Yeah, there's similar platforms. The jacket does have more insulation than the vest does. And one of the unique features on the jacket is there's actually this year a left-handed and a right-handed model. So if you're left eye dominant, there's actually a jacket where all the features are flipped to the other side. So one of the things we do is we design stuff so if you're shooting a bow, your grip arm doesn't have Berber sticking out that might interfere with your bowstring. So, if you're left eye dominant, you're going to be grabbing your bow with your right hand. And that's one of the design features that we've changed for the lefty side. The pocket configuration's all flipped over. And then also if you're hunting muzzleloader or rifle firearm season, late season, on your draw arm or on your trigger arm, there's no Berber on the inside of that elbow only. So if you think about it, if you're at full draw or if you're laying down and looking down through the scope and on your trigger arm, your elbow is going to be sitting back, so there's no bulk buildup inside of on the inner part of your elbow. So those are some of the differences with the jacket, since you have sleeves. But we just wanted to be really careful with how much bulk we're adding on the sleeve area. Just like you talked about earlier, the reason you're wearing a vest is because you don't want to have so much on your sleeves that it gets in the way. And we try and be thoughtful of that when we're building our jackets so there's not excess material that's going to be causing you problems. Again, the whole idea is hopefully you don't even notice that everything's there, because that means it's working well.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I knew that feature existed in the elbow, and I just think, man, how in the world do you guys think of this? But that is, an awesome thought for at some point in the year it is going to get too cold for a vest for me. So, but that gives me a lot of reinsurance just mentally, like, hey, it's not going to be bulked up. I'll be able to pull a bow back or grip the way I want to grip if I'm, like you said, muzzle loading or doing whatever. But yes, that's a super neat feature. And really, really cool shout out to all the lefties out there too, because that's pretty awesome to have gear designed for left-handers as well.
Yeah, I've got a couple of lefties in my family. I'm not one of them, but it definitely makes you start thinking about what they have to deal with. I like to say I've had it a little easy, being right-handed and right-eye dominant, but I have two others in my family that are not set up that way, and it certainly makes things a little bit different and more difficult for them.
It does. I'm a left-hander, and so long story short, I won't get into details of why, just besides I have a bad eye, but I've gone my whole life shooting left-handed, Chris, till about 2 years ago, and then I just 2 seasons ago switched to shooting a bow right-handed. So of course you guys come out with a left-handed jacket now, but no, I'm just kidding. But super excited still. I mean, it makes me want to buy one just because I really am left-handed. You know what I mean?
Well, at least you didn't buy it and then make the switch. Then you would have been in a real pickle. Right.
Then I would have been really bad. Yeah, no kidding. But no, it's such a great feature, and that's good for all the left-handed archers. Because like you're saying, the whole sport of archery for the last 30 years has almost been built around right-handers, and it's been pretty difficult to get some good left-handed gear. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, as far as building, systems. Is there anything else you want to go over on how to go through or on the setup?
Yeah, for sure, Chris. I got like 5 minutes left. Sorry, I got to cut this short, but cram as much as you can into. I think it's really important to have a really good pair of pants, or preferably I like the bib style stuff. So if we could talk about the Fanatic bib real quick and just kind of what goes into that, that'd be great.
Yeah, with the bibs, everything we did on the textile package has changed. So not even, and this applies to the jacket and vest as well, but it's not just changing like to a different Berber. We changed the insulation package. We changed the face Berber. We changed the type of windstopper that we're using. and all to make it quiet and work way better. One of the big things that a lot of people would do is they would wear their old Fanatic bibs in, and since they're Berber, they would pick up burrs. And so a lot of people, had to carry in their bibs. And, like we all do, sometimes we cut corners or we get excited because we shot a deer and we get down and we run after it, to go see where it is. And you might pick up some burrs and then you have to spend some time plucking them out. So the lower legs on the new Fanatic are a smooth face textile that's mapped in a couple of key areas, which is like the front of your legs, the crotch gusset. Both of those areas all have that material, and it's also on the base of the hem of the jacket, because those are the areas you tend to pick up burrs. And it's not that it's burr proof. Like a burr will almost stick to any type of apparel, but the idea is behind it, if you do pick them up, you can just flick them off, and they're way easier to pull out. So that's one of the key changes. We've moved to way quieter zippers. We even looked at different styles of zippers. So if you're venting or you're layering, we're not going to make as much noise. So the legs have a full side vent, so you can pull those down and vent when you're walking in. And so those were some of the key changes that we made on the Fanatic bib.
Another thing that I think is awesome, especially November, just that wind picks up and it gets so cold. But if you've never had something that is legitimately windproof, you're missing out. And for you guys to have 100% windproof warmth in that bib is just unreal. And those are the key things that just really do keep you on stand so much longer.
Yeah, and what I like about them is one of the things I like about bibs is you can take them on them off in the stand if you want to, and you can vent the side panels too as well. So, they're one of my favorite things to wear, especially as the season gets cold. So that's one of the things I've really enjoyed about just wearing bibs.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of options and on how to do that stuff, and sometimes you can pack your coat and end up staying warm enough in the bibs, which I love. Once again, I guess I don't like that upper body bulk, but you can wear those bibs sometimes to get away with 90% of a hunt and just being a lot more comfortable, which I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, I typically commit to my bottom layer too, even for the walk-in, but I'll wear as little as I can on my upper body. That's just so I'm not sweating when I'm walking in. Most people, I would say, you shouldn't walk into your stand with a full Fanatic setup or a full incinerator setup. You will spontaneously combust. So it's a good idea to carry in those outer layers, and then on your bibs, venting the side panels to let out. The whole idea of them is they're designed to keep you warm. So the more active you're in them, the more heat you're going to have in creating your microclimate. So I always teach people, make sure that when you're heading in, try and carry in some of those layers, climb up in your stand, start to let your body temperature cool, and then add your outer layers on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right. That is pretty close to how I do it, and I don't know why. It's just maybe it's habit now, or maybe I've just learned to do it the right way, but I just feel like that's key to this time of year that we're talking about, Chris. It's when that weather changes. You guys need to be in the stands all day, and hopefully today we helped you guys build a system that you guys can look into here shortly, and hopefully keep you on stand longer and hopefully shoot the deer of a lifetime. So excited to be using a lot of this gear this fall, and always excited to talk with Chris, and can't wait to have you back on, and Chris, again. And what do you got going, real quick, what do you got going on before, or I shouldn't say before, but during hunting season? Are you just going to be around home, or
I've got a couple of whitetails? Yeah, I'm already on the antelope chase here. So we're based in Montana, so I'm thoroughly addicted to chasing antelope. And then our elk season will come in, and shortly after that, I'll start my whitetail hunting. So hoping to be able to head back to the Midwest and be able to take in a good animal there. So that's really where we're sitting now. It's definitely firing up, and I'm starting to see everybody posting their pictures from last season, just kind of reminiscing and getting their gear ready. So I know everybody's feeling the same way. We're all itching to get out and get going.
Yeah, it is that time, and it's definitely, that's a great word, is amping up, because I mean, I feel the same way, and it's starting just to consume me every second of the day. But hopefully you have good luck antelope hunting, Chris, and best of luck whitetail hunting, and hopefully let me know if you do have some success. I'd love to have you back on and just share a hunting story, and we'll go from there, man. But I appreciate it, and can't wait to talk to you some more later in the year about some good gear.
Yeah, great luck this season.
And thanks, Chris. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.